完了，来不及推到3个，推到4个，又是一个2打3的画面的乒乓球。
电竞路上就要魅力开个前4，完了，我们的 Rap 看起来没打得好。
但是自己被这个视野给弹回来，又是 Allen 的一个壁中，准备要在这一波将接波人全员冲掉。
差了一个位置，又是第3个，哎呀！
咱们拿了一个搭手，开始持续的追击。现在的话，瞄准他的 triple，
这一波可能换了一个治愈，多你一个治愈之后就被点输了。
再来一个红魔的一个推，拿着双毛的效果把小林给推了回去。
And welcome back, everybody, to the PCS Summer Split Playoffs. My goodness, we have had quite the night already, and we're only 2 games in. We'll have to see if this is going to be a clean sweep for PSG or if J-Team can come thundering back. But before we do, I want to shout out our sponsors one more time, CTBC Bank and China Airlines. Thank you for being by our side and flying high with us here for this postseason. Now, as we look to send a couple of teams off to the World Championship, Nightstar, well, one of these teams could be it, but the way J-Team are playing, it does seem like they could be on the verge of getting knocked out here. PSG stole that game away from them, as you called it, daylight robbery. And off the back of some pretty incredible performances with Bury on that Poppy, I feel like that has to be a contested pick in this game 3.
They weren't sneaky about it either, right? It was just absolutely ignored in both games 1 and 2, this Poppy pick. And for PSG, the daylight robbery thing, they literally walked through the front door of their house, took the 87-inch screen TV, and walked out.
Is that what a Nexus is? It costs 50 gold?
Like,
oh man, yeah, they just let it happen, and it was 4 kills that game for PSG, and they still won it. Now, it did take 48 minutes. It was a completely different game than game number 1, which was PSG in full control. But the difference is in the execution, is coming down to it, knowing what to do with the advantages, the lead you have. What happens if you don't get the objective to turn? PSG are just so much more decisive, and that has been the starkest difference between these 2 teams. J-Team, strong individual performers, but they have looked lost when it comes to the chaos. Maybe they can course correct in this game. They've chosen red side. They've mixed it up for game number 3, but they're going to have to do something different. And the drafts haven't really been an issue, as you've called out. What would you change here, though, in the draft phase if you are J-Team?
If you're going back over to red side, it really just comes down to being able to get 2 power picks in exchange for 1. So I think they will drop the Silas ban yet again and just go for the Ahri Silas exchange this time around. And the key thing will be, what do we do about this Poppy that was left completely unattended in game number 1? In game number 2, it absolutely did an absolute number to J-Team, preventing them from actually being able to stick to these fights. And now in game number 3, J-Team, they will go ahead, double ban mid lane once again, so repeating their game 1 approach. But if Poppy comes through for PSG and you lock in an Ahri pick, Ahri also not exactly one of those champs that does well into a Poppy either.
That's true. I do like the Nautilus ban away, although we have seen the success of the Enchanter picks, and Nabi having a great old time here. Had a solid game, even though he was ganked a number of times. The focus was on him. He still had that late game gangplank impact, and well, we'll see what the first pickup is going to be. The Ahri could be the choice. PSG taking their time around. Actually, we're right back to the cat. Nope. Oh, we got baited. Cat swap for Fox. All right. It's going to be Gory on the Ahri after all.
Does offer the side of J-Team the ability to go ahead, lock away Zeri, Yuumi, or Sivir Yuumi themselves, but they actually pivot over to the Wukong, so taking the team fight.
I like this.
Does offer Zeri Yuumi, though.
That's true. But in the hands of Kongye, I think a Wukong can be very, very powerful. This is one just a little bit slow. I like that they've used the flexibility, but it just feels like it's not putting Hongye on a champion that he can really find a massive amount of success on. So I think this changes things a bit. Zeri does get locked in. We'll see if the Yumi comes through. It's been flashed already.
If it does get given over to J-Team, I feel like J-Team should lock it in because the Wukong Yumi is very, very powerful too. For PSG, they could respond with a Poppy, right? That could be the answer, right? Because if you get on top of that Yumi target and Yumi tries to get off, well, then you will get locked down. But in the end, PSG acknowledge this Yumi champion kind of good.
For J-Team. Something has been let through a number of times. Is that Talia just gets hovered for a sec, but at the end it's going to be the bot lane fleshed out. Enzo goes back onto the Lulu, so Sivir Lulu, and some Chanters both ways, and now the Poppy does get banned finally by J-Team.
Ban away the Poppy, just a matter of what do they ban away after that. PSG have gone towards the Zen, right? Another strong team fighter.
Trundle could come through. I think the Zen's more likely given this, though. It's kind of, they want to go in, they want a speed boost. I think the Trundle might be better if they face off against, you know, some bigger stat sticks. It just depends on what Rock goes, but he's got counter.
And given J-Team playing 2 games of Sejuani, maybe they, if the Sejuani does come through on R4, you'll immediately look to opt for the Trundle pick, as it will be Poppy and Ornn removed. And this is really leaning towards just the lock-in of the Sejuani.
I think you might be right. Slower draft, teams taking their time.
This is J-Team's tournament life on the line, so you can understand why they are being a little bit slow on the uptake and deciding this 4th pick, which will end up being Renekton. I don't mind the Renekton. They are going to sort of leave it on the island, but remember, PSG very familiar with leaving Hanabi on the island, and they could go for the Gnar, who will have that range advantage.
I think the Gnar does make a lot of sense. It's kind of one of Hanabi's favored matchups there, as he does lock it in, gives him some situational tankiness as well.
Gnar Trundle pretty strong because the extra terrain, you know, will mitigate the move speed coming in from a Sivir, right?
Could take
if you
that
just block off a choke point,
themselves.
you can't run through terrain.
All right. What's it gonna be? Freljord either way.
Both will serve
Last
their purpose.
Yeah, it's the Trundle. A little more comfortable for Bury. He's going to get that lock in now. The only question remaining is, what is Uniboy doing? Ooh, do we see a bit of a flex up? Oh,
okay.
What do you got, Uniboy? What do you got?
Does look like they are diving into a couple of options here.
Blanc would be a little more conventional.
If they go for a LeBlanc, that would go into the mid lane, but if they were going for something like the Kiana, then you'd be looking at something very interesting, because that would have been a full AD composition, but it will be the LeBlanc coming in, try and put some kill threat in this mid lane, already rocking an Ignite, and this is the approach that J-Team, they do need to go all out, right? Tournament lives on the line. This is the world's, not in a world spot,
but the potential to still compete for it.
Yes, the opportunity to even look at a world spot.
Yeah, we are in the lower bracket quarters at the moment. The team that wins this goes on to face Deep Cross Gaming, who did 3-0 Frank Esports yesterday. But at the same time, yeah, you don't want to go out early. Neither of these teams would like to. They've both gone farther in the spring split, and they find themselves in this tough position. But if you're PSG, not only do you like it better because you're currently 2 games up, but because the way you got here was by losing out to CFO in a 5-game slobber knocker. J-Team, they go down early on in an upset to Beyond Gaming. Then they turn it around and crush Meta Falcon team, but that's expected. You have to do that.
Yeah.
And here they are against PSG, on the verge of getting swept themselves.
J-Team have struggled mightily against all the other teams in the top 6. So them perhaps tripping at the final hurdle. Definitely
Struggles
a lot
continuing.
to think about in the offseason if it does end up concluding in a 3-0 loss.
Some things about this draft, though, that are going to give some pause, I think, for PSG is one, Kongye on a much more active early playmaking champion. You don't have to have that Cyclone to still make Wukong count. It's one of the reasons he's been so popular, even if he's fallen off a little bit.
And he can
But
carry.
he can carry. That's the critical thing, right? You have the opportunity to do exactly that. And I think, in addition, you look at down the line, your top lane, unless you give it some help, it might be in trouble, but you can give it some help there. The LeBlanc in the mid, you're going to rely on Uniboy to try and get some skill matchup going. And Lilvi should be able to shove in Unified, but the question is going to be like, how well can they build the advantages and then go from there to turn it into map control? Because they ceded so much ground after getting it early last time. I do worry, but we will see if things change. J-Team have to know. Tournament's on the line here. Their season is on the line. If they want a shot at the playoffs further on, if they want a shot at Worlds, PSG, looking comfortable. They got 2 games banked up. One of them, they totally stole away, but hey, you know what? When it's gifted to you, you take it.
Came on a silver platter. And
Yeah.
they went
It was still tough to chew through. They had to go 48 minutes to come back, and look at the start. Unified Kaiwing already bullying Enzo.
Not what you would expect, right? Coming in from a Yumi lane, but it is level 1, so auto attacks do play a pretty good role. And yeah, they're just taking these really nice auto trades. Getting the zone off the minions is even more impactful because that will delay the level 2. Hongre going from buff to buff. Maybe we end up seeing a level 3 gank. That would be a much needed change in approach as they look to shift their attention from the mid lane over to the bot lane.
I'd like to see that. It definitely is Kongye special as well. And with the cat on, Prowling Projectile, they hit the level 2 earlier, finding the damage. And yeah, Unified and Kaiwing have definitely stepped it up in this series. I got to give them credit on that one. I love to see this Yumi in Kaiwing's hands because we've talked about tank supports and engage supports and how that has given him a boost. But he has been known as an enchanter player in his career. And things like the Bard were a big play. But I love this Yumi. And it was just a wonder why it took so long for them to start playing it. They just stepped a little too far forward, but they're still able to get out safely enough.
Yeah, now Korra is moving his way back top lane, so we won't see any early action from this Wukong into the bot side. And okay, this is
as you said,
here's pathing.
He's on Crab at the moment, but we could be in for the jungle 3v3.
Yeah, he comes.
Okay.
He goes buff to buff, starts heading him back up to the top side. Then he decides to come back into that bottom half. That's a lot of time burned out. However, he might be given the double crab as compensation, and if he's able to do that, that does remedy some of the stranger decisions that has been happening apparently this entire split or series.
Yeah, it definitely has been a little strange. Hanabi outlasting the initial burst of damage from Rock, building up that Gnar bar, checking in on the top. This is a matchup that Hanabi knows incredibly well. Rock should as well. A lot of experience on both top sides. Ooh, Ori, he was chunked out. Didn't see what happened there. He zoned that tower, going to have to back away and spend that recall. He even burned Flash earlier, didn't catch it. But Uniboy didn't even use his own summoners.
Yeah, Uniboy now, of course, with the extra ignite pressure, maybe this is that 1v9 opportunity that Uniboy could take. Wasn't able to quite pull it off with the Silas, even though he definitely had a very, very good start to the game. In fact, you might even say he had a great start in in both of the games, right? Because there were a bunch of ganks coming into the mid lane in game number 1 that paid off. Unfortunately, on the Swain, unable to just force 1v1 kills. Much more of a team fight player, and while he did play these team fights relatively well, it just wasn't enough to compensate for everyone else.
I think it's been fair to say that of all the J team members, Uniboy has had the best performance thus far. Part of the issue is, game 1, Lil V just never got to scale. Rock kind of wasn't able to play out the matchup as well as he could. Game 2, Rock looked better because they had a lot of pressure from the jungle. Uniboy was still playing even better than Gory without that pressure. And Lil V did okay in the lane phase, and they were actually able to stay alive despite the pressure that was being put on them. But yeah, overall, individually, Uniboy's done solidly. It's just League of Legends is a team game. Here we go.
Okay, there we
go.
go.
Chains missed.
Gank. And
that actually ends very abruptly.
Because the chains didn't land, no kill comes through, but a scenario where the chains do land, that would have been a kill because Gory not level 6 until now, and without flash. So with the chain landing and the ignite, just a little more damage from Kongre would have been more than enough to finish that one off.
Starting to see the level 6s come through. Kongre spotted on the Scryer's Bloom, actually, and hitting level 5 compared to Burry's 4. Keep in mind, the Dragon starting off is Action Infernal. Pretty hefty to fight over as well. Burry looking to go for some counter jungling of his own. Throws up the pillar, try and contest on the Gromp. Could come down to a smite fight, but Kongre with the level advantage should be able to get that one, and he does.
Nice little take there, secure that little chunk of gold for himself. However, for PSG, everything's under control. And you have bot lane being able to shove in, get a reset, top lane able to get a free reset as well.
Mid lane stabilized, despite the flash loss. Yeah, I mean, this PSG feeling happy. It's a slim gold lead, obviously, but it feels like if J Team aren't able to make a play, they don't force it. PSG know exactly what happens next, and they're comfortable with it. I mean, and that is the issue, right? If you're predictable, well, then you're easy to outplay and outmaneuver. J Team are gonna have to mix it up here.
I think, like, for PSG, they don't need to do anything in this early game because they just played game 2, right? Where, hey, we were behind a bunch of gold. J Team, they were ahead. They just didn't know what to do with it. So we'll see if that happens again. Like, we don't necessarily need to change our game script because we're already up 2-0. We have that extra leeway in this game number 3. So onus is all on to J Team to show us something different, and this could be it.
Ooh, Flash Dominus into the Cyclone, even though he hops to relative safety. Can't quite get there in time. Rock burned all of his tools to get it, but he got first blood for himself.
First blood obtains. Really, really nice there up in the top side. As they do expend double ultimates to do so.
Ooh, into level 6 Lightning Crash. They do have that advantage. The final chapter is going to be dodged a little bit. Lil V taking quite low. The flash forward. Whoa, the 2v2 kill. Unified.
No way.
Stepping it up. That was brilliant. Meanwhile, on the Herald, all of a sudden, this game's starting to get a little spicy.
And this is sort of why we haven't seen J Team play towards topside, because Lil V, Enzo haven't quite been able to hold up their end of the bargain. And now this is a very top-heavy draft for the side of J Team, so they need to win this 3v3.
Okay, Burry, the chains are on him, actually taken quite low in this, but the Orb of Deception does the same thing as well. Uniboy zoned out. Here comes Kongre into the back. Will be able to get that deletion off as they tag their way through, but another charm into the Orb. Kongre gets the Wild Growth, stays alive! Oh, that's pretty big, but here comes Meganar as that smite comes down. Rock will be able to secure it. Very close call. So J Team walk out with the kill and the objective, but just barely.
Oh, I am actually really surprised that Hanabi and Gory don't just try and take the 2v4 themselves in that moment, because of how low Uniboy did get taken down. And even though Enzo made his way over, they had ult advantage because Rock and Kongre have burned their ultimates in the gank onto Hanabi. So I feel like it was just a little bit of miscommunication on what tools were available on the side of J Team. As Uniboy, he does go in, gets a good chunk, but the response is there from Gory. Unfortunately, though, unable to secure the kill. And
so
with the
close.
flash
Look
from
at that charm landing.
Great flash from Enzo, really saved the day. and then they turn around, get the smite off, secure the objective, and get a bunch more health for Kongre on top of it.
And that's sorely needed, right? Like, that level of decisiveness and outplaying hero moments, that's exactly what you need if you're J-Team, because you got to get back into this one. Enzo really kept that play alive with Flash Wild Growth, and there we go. So, let's see what they can get done with it now. 10 minutes elapsed on the game clock, a slim gold lead for J-Team, but PSG are moving into enemy jungle. Bury has got Kaiwing on his back, and I'll just get that ward clear out. It's just gonna get replaced immediately.
Look at bot lane.
Yeah,
The
what a
Zeri
big difference.
Already at 100 CS.
Enzo is gone.
Far ahead.
Enzo wasn't able to get in here. Now Kongye, he's going to turn around, but look at the damage they push onto him. And the Lightning Crash is easily able to do it with that secure from the Ignite. All of a sudden, 3v2. And they push in for the plates. PSG's bot lane off to the races.
They'll exchange plating up top side, but it is that Renekton who still will peak when it comes to scaling. Right? Even though he has done well for himself, if you all of a sudden stop playing towards top side, you aren't able to fully snowball around this Renekton, which we need to see more out of. And the big problem, the big looming problem, is this AD carry out ahead 20 CS. Will be able to continue to get another plate down in this bot lane, perhaps. And maybe they even try and get more as we get to see the replay on the situation. Kongre goes in, but this is a Yuumi.
Oh,
you can't just run into
no idea. They turned right back around. Yes, he gets the knockup. Enzo and Lilvier are zoned out from the final chapter. Yeah, Kongre did just not have a chance, and that misstep, it's going to cost you. As we're starting to see the turnaround yet again. 2-2 now in kills. The Dragon advantage for PSG here with that first Infernal pickup. And Mythic's starting to be bought. First one was actually the Shirelias.
Well, that's big, right? Because then Bury just becomes even more of a menace. He has so much move speed with his W, and he can take away move speed with his E. And you throw on the extra movement speed from Shirelias on top of the fact that it's a Yuumi. There's a lot of Yuumi things happening here, Pyra.
Yes, a lot of Yuumi things. And the cat has been showing up strength to strength. Yes, big zooms. I'm well acquainted with this as a cat owner. Oh man, but yeah, like it just baffles me that it took so long for the PCS to realize that this was such a huge pick. And well, I guess specifically PSG Talon are looking specifically even better with it. And Uniboy going in, misses the chains out. Here we go, the Yuumi on to Bury as we are getting some ward wars here in this river. Kongye going in. Let's see what the Lightning Crash for Unified, though. He does find some damage, but not nearly enough, as they have so much more. But Gory with second wind effort. Now it rushes and gets rooted down, taken out by Uniboy. But meanwhile, Kongye with that wild growth on, staying alive. Uniboy won't be so lucky. The turnabout for both mid lanes with J-Team. Pretty heavy investment of players on both sides. Hanabi was even roaming as he arrived just at the end of that fight.
And this is yet another positive trade for the side of PSG, because even though J-Team, they do get that 1v1 kill for Uniboy, this is a 2-0 Zeri. This Zeri is going to be a menace. And they don't have really any point-and-click CCs for this champion as well. So it's going to take a lot of effort to get on top of this champion, and she will be offered opportunities to bail out any sticky situations and reset a fight.
Kongye gonna try and help Rock win this top side. The focus continues as the Narbar was outlasted. Dominus flash into the stun, and no Mega, but he tries to kite it out. He's burning. I don't think he can close that gap as Rock will shut him down. But meanwhile, we're gonna be seeing the mid laners battle it out again in the mid. But Unified, excuse me, he was the one taking on Uniboy, who gets the full channel popped into him, and that's gonna be their answer to this Zeri right now. Is let the LeBlanc do the dirty work. Bury finds Kongye. It's Kaiwing on a roam with them. They'll try to stop this tower from going down.
They want this. Yeah, they know Dominus isn't available, and they also have the help of tower, so they're actually able to hold on to what's left of that top lane tower HP. will be able to
That's
deny.
nice.
Yeah, it holds off on the gold infusion right now for J Team. And look, J Team, they have the 1 kill lead, but they're down the dragon, and apparently they're down in gold because of the tower difference. So again, it's even though they are finding kills, they aren't finding the actual consequences for those kills, which are objectives.
That is the difference. PSG always making something of their situation.
And it's
JT a little
Herald.
bit resting on the laurels. Another Herald play with the top side. PSG, they get that one, and let's see what they can do with it. J-Team losing out in the gold game even more now. Bury completing his Divine Sunderer. Spike's coming through.
Yeah, and even though there isn't a big tank to be able to drain the stats out of, right, for Bury on this Trundle, the amount of utility he still brings is going to be immense. And when Rock or Kongra do jump in, you can easily just turn on to them because it makes them from a bruiser into a very, very squishy target.
Yeah, I really like this Trundle so far, and I think it's shown up a lot more than like something like the Xin Zhao, which is definitely that comfort zone champion for Bury. Because it's not just about the subjugate, right? It's about that pillar. It's about controlling the choke points. Ooh, Konga taking a lot of damage, but does dodge out on the charm. That could have been the difference maker as the dragon is live. Rock with an early TP comes in here. Hanabi doesn't have his, so he'll have to go the long way around. But J-Team aren't in full position just yet, so this dragon will not be started. And Herald's actually been popped in mid. PSG are hoping to get something one way or the other.
Yeah, there's no one around this mid lane, so they can't clear it out. It's just going to be a free Rift Herald push. And for J-Team,
another charge too.
They have to be decisive because otherwise it will just sort of rumble down the mid lane.
Oh, Konga is clone tanked a lot, but that dragon's going to reset here. Uni
Hanabi
Boy
Mega.
looking for a charge on. Hanabi does get that Mega popped up, and well, the dragon's still being flipped over here. This is quite a weird situation. Konga does eat the charm. That could be all the difference they need as he goes in with Wild Growth, but gets popped down. Yuumi once again stepping up. Skywing even getting the kill credit on this one in Unified. He's going to Spark Surge back away to safety. Rock in the middle with the Dominus. Does he have enough damage to take Bury out of the fight? I don't even think he does. No, Spike for the health. PSG just running train here as they get themselves 2 kills and will take the dragon as spoils. On top of it, they got the tower in mid. It's all PSG talent.
This feels a little bit premature, but I think that might just be the time of death, Pyra. Because
you're calling him earlier and earlier, Nightstar.
18 minutes into the game, down to big stat dragons. It's only going to be an Ocean Soul on the table for J-Team. That's not enough comeback stats. When you have a Renekton, when you have a LeBlanc, and when they have an out-of-control Zeri, I don't think there's enough left in the tank for J-Team.
J-Team are not on the same page. You can see in this fight that Konge wants to fight for the Drake, but Rock is looking for the flank. It just doesn't work out either way. They split focus. Rock, he knows he's deep in here. He tries to take Bury out and make it more of an even 4v4, but Bury just smites for the health. PSG just are so much better in these chaotic moments when things go not according to plan. They know what to do. They're so much better at improvising because they've been in these situations so many times. J-Team, they struggle, and this continues. This is worrisome.
Remember, the stakes of this series. If J-Team lose this game, they will get 3-0'd out of Worlds contention for PSG.
Right, and out earlier than they were in spring. This would be a lower bracket quarterfinals loss. J-Team have not been able to make it to Worlds since 2019. It was the LMS representing this region.
They want to make a play. Kongra does have a fantastic flank angle, but is the reinforcements there?
I don't know if they are. Here comes Enzo and Lil V. That's got to be the go button if anything is. They look for Unified, but he's able to Spark Surge over the wall.
He'll get turned on.
That's going to be Gory here. Is he getting saved? I don't know. Finally gets bursted down. The teleport coming a little late as Kongi does some work on that knockup, but nonetheless, the Yuumi Zeri is huge. Hanabi just needs that hit on the boomerang, and that is what he will get. Rock with the last bit of the dominance. That shove on the Gnar. The polymorph comes through. The tower shots are huge, and now they might be able to do it under the tower, but nonetheless, they still maybe lose even more here. Uniboy, Lil V, Rock all low on the health bars, and the 3-stack still feeling like they can fight this despite the numbers disadvantage.
Oh my god. Unified just missed
Oh.
the burst fire. And now
Uniboy! Here we go! Unified! He tries for it, can't quite get the kill, but he's going to nearly get Rock anyways. But they bite off more than they can chew. That shutdown to Uniboy as he splats the cat. And J-Team just barely survived the onslaught.
This is the smallest margin of hope. This is as hopium as it gets, because PSG, for once, they're the ones to overextend themselves and go for these kills. They smelled the end of this series. If they were just cleaner just a little bit on the turn, it would have been pretty much game over, series over. But Unified, you'll see later on, does miss out on a couple burst fires onto Rock that allow him to stay alive. They immediately turn onto Corey, and this starts out well, but you aren't able to apply pressure onto Yumi Zeri. So Yumi Zeri, this is the moment that they really take control of the fight. The Mega Gnar is good enough, but unfortunately,
Hanabi gets
the kill
stun locked under tower though. Yeah, he takes so many shots. It definitely was some missed execution. That being said, they get the tower in the end. They have that other dragon advantage. Yeah, look at the damage flipping this fight. Yeah, Yumi Zeri real good. Just a little too over aggro, a little too zoomy. Bit of a sugar rush. What can you say? These things happen sometimes. I mean, have you ever seen a cat with the zoomies that just like runs like nearly into a wall? I think that's basically what happened.
Yeah. And Unified is almost to 3 items. Once he gets the completed IE, which I really hope he does go for it here. It could be the GA, right? The extra stasis, also a cheaper power spike if you're just trying to all in for this next dragon.
Close call. Very close, but he gets out. Kaiwing able to get back, holds his nerve on that one, and he picks up the Chemtech Putrefier.
Cut down some of the healing coming in for the Renekton and the Wukong.
Also helps when you think about the fact that this is a Ocean Rift coming through today. Second item completed by the Gnar, the Black Cleaver. Hanabi going to be getting onto those side lanes, dishing the damage. He can also team fight it out quite well. Dragon's live. PSG looking to set up in position here. The choke point, Uniboy has been pretty fabulous in finding these picks. He finds half of Murray's health bar. Not enough to take him down, though. It's going to be the start of the Drake. Kong game, a little bit punished.
Heal comes through.
Ooh,
now,
the chase. No charm.
The fight lines getting a little bit messy. J-Team, this is going to be really hard for Lil V to fight it out. Why? Because he has 2 more flanking-oriented solo laners, and the healing from Yumi getting buried back to half health.
Watch Hanabi here. He doesn't have the Gnar bar, though. Looking for a flank around the side, but not able to get in position. This dragon may just be flipped. PSG can afford to give this one up, so they don't want to put themselves in a compromising fight position. As the dragon sets back over, they're still going to try and fight through this, and J-Team getting cold feet again. Here comes Uniboy, goes in, doesn't get a full combo channel off. Dragon still aggro.
Value.
4,000 hit points. Here comes Rock on the Dominus, finding Bury, trying to stay alive. He does actually go through it. The smite does come down onto the dragon in favor of J-Team, but PSG win out the fight. Rock is down. Hanabi throwing the boulders. Here comes the Yumi Zeri, finding the burst fires, finding the zooms, finding the lasers, and Enzo's health bar getting depleted, but they can't quite get the kills, so they will.
They can turn for Baron, maybe. They could look to try and turn for the Baron buff. 20 seconds on to Rock. Low health bars on the side of J-Team. They will need to be reset the situation. But PSG, they don't push the issue. They don't decide to press. And that's also okay because Zeri almost hitting critical mass gets yet another kill into her pocket. She is just okay. There I was going to say she is moments away from IE. And I was just a moment too slow on that one.
These things do happen. In PSG, they were a moment too slow on getting maybe 3-4 kills. That would have absolutely been the Baron. As it stands, PSG can still get here faster to set this up and get the vision control that they want. Even though they give up the dragon, that's okay. It's just an ocean, a single ocean in an entire, well, ocean, I guess, as the rift is slightly submerged this time around.
And there's just, even though, you know, just any extra little bit of stats is nice, the ocean doesn't change these fight dynamics.
They're fast fights, right? The regen matters much more in the long-term fights.
Yeah, and the healing did also get cut on these ocean dragons anyways, so the value not quite there, and the Yumi will outdo any of that anyway.
That's also a good point.
Fine.
Ooh, looking for another hunt. They find Lil V. He's forced to flash away, but the pillar is huge as they get him in there. And Rock trying to lock up the rest of the team. But let's see if they can actually take him. He's down in this fight, so that's the turnabout on both AD carries. Rock is able to take Kaiwing out of the fight as well without the main damage dealer. That's going to be the chase on. They get the charm land. No combo. Here comes Kongye with the bop over the head. Finds Gory. J-Team find the decisive fight. They get 3 for 1. What can they do with it?
And the unfortunate thing is they do lose their Sivir. So they need to wipe them out here if they want the Baron.
Hanabi. Meganar was looking like he was maybe able to lock him up for a bit there as well. So yes, despite losing the fight, PSG don't give up an objective over this one, as J-Team don't really have the damage to take down the Baron. Without that Sivir.
This, once again, comes back to the core issue for J-Team. Even though they are finding kills, they don't get anything out of it. It's just the kill gold. There's no dragon going down. There's no tower going down. There's no Baron going down. There's no consequences for these punishes. And PSG, they know, like, as long as we continue to deny gold away from Lil V on this Sivir, they don't have any late game. It's all predicated then on this, on the dive coming in from LeBlanc and Wukong to delete our Zeri. Otherwise, well, Zeri just free hits all day, every day.
Yep.
This was a bit
that
of
was
a
fun.
blunder, though. Gory,
I get surprised by it every time.
Just greeting his flash just a little bit there will end up costing
Yeah.
both his flash and his life.
It's been good punish. Just, yeah, capitalizing on that has not been something J-Team have been able to do. Map State's kind of to blame for it there. Another dragon coming up in about a minute 10. 3 Adam Zeri versus 2.5 from this Sivir. They've done a good job of keeping Lil V down, who has been a big win condition for J-Team throughout these playoffs. Uniboy has been having a good game himself, but this LeBlanc, the stonks kind of fall off a little bit as the game goes deeper and deeper. You want to get the execution, you're not able to do that as people get tankier and get MR built. Especially if these dragons start to come into play, yeah, even with the negated or lowered healing factor.
And this might be J-Team's strongest point in the game, right? They have double penetration items completed on to Uniboy. You have double stasis available on Rock and Kongye. Until they hit 3-4 item Sivir, this is as strong as they get. This is as oppressive as they will be. But on the flip side, you have a Banshee's Veil to deal with. You have the stopwatch on the Zeri to deal with. So even though you might be able to flash onto Unified on the Zeri pick, he can still continue to buy time. And PSG looks like they're going to get this objective for free. Even the threatening factor coming in from J-Team, they're too slow at starting out the Baron buff. There is no threat onto, again, the alternative objective. Yet another objective they've just given up for free.
They just don't pull the trigger when they realize that they have been caught out. They back away. They get a few wards cleared. That's about it. It puts PSG at soul point without really having to do much for them on that side. So everything just going in their favor now. And PSG, they are in full control because J-Team have just given it over to them yet again. And this is their world's hopes. This is their playoff hopes on the line, Nightstar. If this doesn't motivate you, nothing will.
Perhaps feeling the pressure of the moment as well, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that just one mistake, they're knocked out of World's contention.
But not doing anything is also a mistake.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And Uniboy is really trying. Rock is trying to contribute as well. Kongria. There is a lot of veteranship in this roster. You have to imagine that with all these players who've been in the scene for such a long time, there wouldn't be that issue. But it seems like it's been sort of Kongria, Uniboy, or bust. If they're not going and forcing the issue, everyone else is willing to hang back and wait for the situation to play out itself.
Yeah. So we just see the wards shuffling back and forth on the 30-minute mark of the game. Very even gold game, but the Dragons, the tempo, tell a very different story. Bury does get caught with the chains and poked out by the Baron as well. So that's going to force him to reset. J-Team have an opportunity.
Can start moving into top river to clear out vision. Instead, they just say, all right, we got a big chunk onto the jungler. Let's just clear out a minion wave in this mid lane. And now they start moving over, but Bury's back to full health.
Yeah, not only that, about time for Unified to complete. Oh, that laser! Oh boy!
Does that taste purple?
Yeah, and every other color of the rainbow, I think. Uniboy gets clipped as well.
He was seeing stars.
There's 4 items, Zeri. This stings.
Yeah. GA completed onto Unified. Even if they do get onto him, he is going to be able to go into stasis, buy more time, and then reset himself over the wall.
Narbar, it's almost there. PSG just saying that they can go ahead and bait this one out, and it's going to be the full bait as they look for Rock. The dominance is on. That Nard does not go where they want him to with Charm, and they're going to be able to delete Kongye before he can pop his ultimate, and all of a sudden the chase is on. Rock losing the dominance shortly. He's forced to flash away right back to the Baron. They can go.
Boy, it's all on the back of him. Rock does have the teleport. He will be teleporting back into this, but he doesn't have dominance and he doesn't have flash.
And they don't have a smite either. PSG know all of this information. It's going to be on the remaining members of J-Team to peel them off the Baron or just stomp them into the ground. And the choice will be neither.
More J-Team concede the objective for free. 2-kill advantage for J-Team leads to a 2k gold deficit for some reason. And 2 dragons down and now a Baron down.
Make it make sense, Nightstar.
Maybe the replay will make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
We get to see the
chase.
This
was a great charm, by the way.
This was a brilliant angle for Korea. I love that he's looking for this, but I also love the fact that PSG know that's their only way to win this fight. They catch him out, punish him. That's all the team fight left out of J-Team, and PSG. That might be the final blow.
Well, you called time of death quite a while ago, Nightstar, but J-Team, I think they're still moving, but they are looking a bit more shambolic. Perhaps they're zombies at this point. They're seeing their tournament lives really just come to an end. They need to stay in this one. They need to find a win. Otherwise, they just get swept out of the PCS Summer Playoffs and not even in the top 4. This is the 3rd seed. Yes, PSG were the #1, but it wasn't a huge difference in the total wins. They even traded in the head-to-head, but in the playoffs, J-Team have just looked lost, looked indecisive. And it has punished them multiple times. Here is the push. Here is the play. Let's see if they get those ones. They get the stasis popped from Unified. Kaiwing, he's going down as well. Gory trying to be a hero. That is J-Team pushing it back. That's exactly what they needed as Hanabi's about to go mega, but they juggle on this aggro. They juggle on the PSG damage cooldowns. We were just critiquing that decisiveness. Hanabi gets a massive Narsha, but it's just buying time as the chase is on. J-Team needed this more than anything, and they'll get the wipe out without losing a member. The ace comes through at 34.5.
A clean ace, and they get an objective off of it. It will be their 2nd Ocean Dragon, but once more unable to fully punish PSG because they can't get a lot of map pressure off of this. It really is just those extra gold coming back into their pockets. long last,
That was a good
JT
push.
they at least play their cards, and it pays off this time off the back of Kongrye being that decisive factor, and that enables Uniboy to then go forward and continue to pump out damage with his cooldowns. So, you know, at the very least, we see them bite back, but this could yet be another game J-Team lose with a pretty sizable kill advantage.
Yeah, the difference has been what's come off the back of those kills, right? PSG have been able to get objectives. PSG have been able to transition the numbers advantage into something, and unfortunately, J-Team haven't. Yes, they get a dragon, but they don't push down for towers. They don't have a Baron to take. They don't have anything else they can get because even though they find the great fights, PSG, they've been in a position where it's hard for them to be punished. So while it has been J-Team struggling, I also do want to commend PSG for, yeah, even when they overextend, it's kind of a lower risk overextension.
Yes. And Hanabi has Mega. He can look for a flash play.
Yeah, Konge can also look for another good knockup, but they've caught him here. Forced to clone out. A little tricky.
So now the win condition is almost online for J-Team, right? It's
Lil V.
the Sivir, who is incredibly fed. If given the opportunity to get a couple autos in, he will be able to decimate PSG. And that is really all the hopes and dreams of J-Team here in this upcoming fights, which could happen in 100 seconds around that Baron, or it could happen in 3 minutes around this next dragon.
Full build comes out for Unified, though. Got to keep in mind this Zeri has become a terror. Even though
the Runans will be able to output a ton of damage against the front line of J-Team, right? They're very much in your face. It's sort of a budget Sivir build to a degree, right? Because
a little bit.
Now you have your own ricochets.
That's true, but I wanna draw your eyes a little bit, Night Star, just a little bit down beyond that Zeri build. There is a Medjai's for Kaiwing. I mean, it is well documented. Yumi is a reader, even flies around on that book. But that was not the one I expected. No stacks at the moment, but I do admire the confidence from Kaiwing. He's definitely got his swagger back.
Swagger back on 3 items.
Yeah, that's a damage dealing Yumi.
Doing a lot of work here, and he gets one good fight, then of course those pages will be filled pretty quickly. That will really amp up his damage. Now we're just gonna kind of have
an amp tone.
Have a little bit of quiet time, right?
You'd think there's about 15 seconds on that Baron.
Bury, okay.
He respects it.
Steals away the crab.
Okay, Hanabi has Mega, but it's going to be running out sooner or later, so PSG won't be in the position to take the fight barring a catch. They do find some damage on the rock. That's going to be the On the Hunt. Turning on Unified, a lightning crash, and he's going to be able to not get away from that one, but so much damage to follow through. All the same, Bury goes down as well. They don't have an execution. They don't have the kill. J-Team, this time, the decisiveness pays off huge for them. They needed to do it again, and they find the cleanup. It'll turn into Baron.
Oh man, JT, at long last, they've arrived onto the rift perhaps. It only took 38 minutes into game number 3. Backs, I don't know if you can say backs against the wall. It says back against the wall as you can get.
It is better late
than
never.
Like, this is like when you're one finger hanging onto the cliff, right? But somehow, yet they managed to hold on with that very, very strong finger, and that name, the name of that finger is Kongrye.
Yeah, this is a long metaphor, but you got there at the end, and also a long game as we're getting close to 40 minutes in. PSG gonna respawn in time, but I don't know if they're gonna be able to contest this dragon up against the Baron empowered side of J-Team, and that would put soul point equalization both ways.
They could still look to flip though, because they do have the GA back available.
Yeah, but keep your eye on Kongrye. He's got the flank angle. Without eyes on him, PSG, no, this is going to be tough.
You have a ward.
Oh, the
They do
turn!
Spot him out now.
He's going to get a knock-up, but will it be enough to actually get the kill? Here's Unified trying to back away. They do lose Bury. No smite there. So that's going to be the back off. J-Team will be able to take this. And yeah, the Sivir win con. It's online.
Very much online. And now it's 3 dragons to the name of J-Team. Yes, the individual dragons won't make much of a difference, but the extra soul might. With the extra sustain offered up, that might give them enough staying power in these fights. And for PSG, they're starting to run out of damage themselves, right? The Gnar is going to run out a little bit here. The Trundle is great utility, but he isn't a big damage dealer. And then Gory on this Ahri pick going for a more utility build rather than full damage. So he is also lacking.
J-Team realize that they have the advantage, that they need to stay alive, and they keep pushing, grabbing towers now, moving into the game, moving into the map, and opening up more by picking up that standing gold. They've got the gold edge, and it's flipped back over them on the back of a couple fights. Also, 2 needless rods for Uniboy, so he's not done dealing damage just yet. He's going to complete his 4th item soon enough, and that is a big Bursty LeBlanc.
And it's a lot of damage just targeted at Unified. So that is sort of the drawback of these item builds coming in from PSG, is that there's no reason for J-Team to target anyone else. Because they, the other members of PSG aren't building damage. They are not a threat to Lil V on the Sivir pick. And Hanabi, no Gnar bar. This would be a pretty interesting fight, as Baron's about to time out and there's no objectives except the base available.
Yeah, if they win the fight, that makes the difference all the same. Death timer's quite long here. Just about 42 minutes.
Game.
Kongye is sniffed out, and that utility pillar still coming in handy as he tried to sneak in on the Warrior Trickster.
We are starting to get to those item caps, and maybe if they do get that death cap completed onto Gory, that might start making a difference. But for sure, for Unified, he's peaked on items, so this is as strong as he can get.
What if he sells the boots?
To sell.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Sell the boots. Maybe he goes for a BT to add extra sustain, or maybe some heal cut, because J-Team might get themselves that Ocean Soul. We'll see.
Still some game to play yet, it appears. J-Team looking to try and get a collapse on the flank using the brushes. Bury is caught, bursted, and he's got himself an ult though. Big heal to keep alive, and they found Lil V, but they can't find the deletion. The final chapter partially dodged out here, and Kongye is caught. PSG looking on the chase, but he gets out thanks to Ninja Strike Warrior Trickster, or does he? As they get the hop over the wall, forcing the flash away. Bury again going far forward in the second charge. Kongye coming back looking for Hanabi, but the tank is there. They managed to get him into stasis, but Bury will be the first casualty to fall in this one. You can see the damage falling off. Kongye going in for a tank, but the Yuumi Zeri is still huge, or is it huge enough? Rock in the back is not going to do the damage, and on that resurrect, they take Lil V out. I can't believe it, Nightstar! PSG are doing it again!
Oh,
Uniboy!
For these kills,
Uniboy!
on his own, and Uniboy will be behind the kill.
But it's just chase on chase! Enzo's down! What is happening?
One-man advantage, Pyra. No objectives up available for another minute.
PSG are looking though, they're moving around. There's nothing to take on the map. The fight's indecisive. It's 2 for 3. Uniboy manages to get something back for it by getting Gory out of the game, and oh, this is so close. It's so tense. It could either be a sweep or the start of a comeback.
As things stands with these death timers, it's actually inconsequential because everyone will be up in time for the fights. Soul on the line, Baron on the line, base on the line, series on the line. Oh, just a chance to sniff at a world spot on the line.
For the first time in 3 years, make that be known. But with the teleport on, Baron is live. PSG are first on the scene. They go for this one, but J-Team, they've come back to life in this. Maybe they were zombies, but it's the dawn of the living J-Team. It would appear that Baron flip does go the way of PSG with Kongye caught in the back of the pit. Uniboy trying to make the play happen, but they take him out. They take out Kongye as well. And Rock, Lilvi, and Enzo are going to watch their hopes and dreams crumble to dust as PSG hold strong, hold firm, delete everyone but Enzo off the map, and there's nothing that Lulu can do. I don't know if that tasted purple, but it certainly was bitter as they have to swallow the pill of defeat.
That's a wave coming into the mid lane. It's a wave coming into the bot lane.
Death
And with
timer's
these
way
death
too long.
timers, 30 seconds plus. That just may be it. That should be it, of course, right? It's full build. They'll just tank up these towers.
That's
And
GG.
PSG keep their hopes and dreams alive.
Shutting out J-Team 3-0 despite a monumental effort by the J-Team members. They got the late game condition. They got the Sivir online. Uniboy was an absolute hero, but when it came down to it, the Baron flip, the fight, PSG thrive in those moments, and J-Team will go home for the rest of the season.
J-Team, a strong regular season performance coming in both splits, finishing 2nd seed in spring, 3rd seed in summer, yet same result, back-to-back playoffs.
Earlier
Short of
this
their
time.
goal.
They get knocked out by PSG, but they don't have the scoreline wins to say it was close. It looked close in games, but not getting the Nexus. Any of those times. They really should have had the 2nd game. It looked like they could have had this 3rd one. But close doesn't cut it. Only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, not League of Legends.
Nope. The only thing that matters, League of Legends, is the Nexus. Even with the kill advantages they were able to get in games 2 and even 3, not enough of an advantage apparently to pull it over the line, and that will be PSG with a clean sweep, even though those games 2 and 3 were incredibly tense.
Oh yeah, that could have gone either way for the longest time. I really don't think the scoreline reflects how close a lot of it was. The game times, apart from that first game, the game times have just been so long that even though it was only 3 games, it feels like we're a little bit later on into this one. And it's a testament to PSG able to come back multiple times, able to hold strong despite losing out fights, despite looking like they were the ones getting outscaled. They came back and managed to pull it off brilliantly. This game just proves that they're a team that knows how to improvise, that knows how to find different angles, find different ways, and decisiveness carried the day. And that is a lesson, a hard lesson, that J-Team are going to have to learn.
It's a long off season, and
They got time for it.
in PCS, usually a lot of our rosters go through a lot of shuffles, right? Split to split or just year to year. So even though as strong as this J-Team did perform in the regular season, most likely we will see a change of members going into next year's. And this very well could be the last season as well for some of our members. These are pretty veteran players. They've played in the scene for such a long time. You never know when you might just call it.
Yeah, it would be a shame to see a lot of them go. We'll have to see how the offseason does go for this squad and these players, but for PSG, they can feel very happy about everything. This series was not without mistakes. We called a clean sweep. They definitely had times where they got caught out, they overpushed, but they were 2 games up. They were feeling themselves. It was definitely looking like they wanted to have a style game. It did allow J-Team back into it, but they closed it out in the end. They got the result that mattered. And I think this is also when you can still learn things from. You can find that, okay, that didn't work. That was a little too far forward. But what I really love to see out of this PSG team is just the objective control that they exhibited in it was so much better than even in the CFO series where they were shut out a lot because they were being outfought, because they were being outplayed. They held their nerve against a J team that was willing to flip on the objectives rather than take the fight 100% of the time. So PSG showed that they can play to different styles of opposition, and that is encouraging. If they are in fact our World's representatives this year, as they have been for multiple years running, they've been tested and challenged, I think, more than in any other year of the PCS.
Yes.
So far.
Yeah, this will be a challenge for them as they look to climb from the lower bracket. Knocked out in the first series that they participated in this playoffs. So, you know, all of our, or whichever World's reps we do send, they will be at the very least battle tested.
Yeah, we've got a fantastic top 4 teams. I think it has been so close. It has been so down to the line. And despite a couple of sweeps in the lower bracket, I don't think it necessarily reflects the level of competition that we've seen grown here in the PCS. It has been closer and closer. I mean, these two teams were separated by just one win in the regular season, but it was PSG that emerged victorious. We're going to take a look at some of the replays of this game. I mean, Bury gets bursted down, and that is where the heals and his own ultimate, the Subjugate, comes in handy because he gets right back up almost to full strength.
Yeah. Just so much sustain coming in. Unfortunately, unable to finish off that kill. And this was that all-in play.
Yeah,
this was the hero moment that they tried to pull off to get the kill onto Bury, but all of his utility, you know, he's already expended it. So at that point, you know, he's okay. And Yumi goes to work.
Yeah, Unified was an absolute beast this game. I really got to hand it to him. I think Kaiwing on these enchanters, buffing him up, really helping him out here. Yes, Uniboy saves the day to an extent here. He gets the big bursty LeBlanc going, but this is the play that matters. It really came down to the wire. It was a 50-50 flip. The rookie jungler against Kong's veteran status, and the rookie comes out ahead, gets the right smite, and the fight goes the way of PSG, and it's good night, sweet J-Team.
It was all about the flip for the side of J-Team, because right after the LeBlanc commits, the Wukong commits, there's no front line for Lil V to then freely auto. The pathway he and Rock took was just so separate and split off of their mid jungle. It was a Baron or bust in that situation, and it ended up busting.
But they did commit to the play. I think at the very end, it may have been too little too late, but the decisiveness at least was there. And yeah, it's a long, cold off season, but J-Team, they did seem to come alive at the end. It's unfortunate for them that the result won't show that, but you know, I would say that was probably their best effort by the end. Game 2 is a little bit weird because, yeah, they kind of did everything but win it, and it was a bit of an odd series in that regard. It seemed like they improved over time, but they still couldn't quite get the W on the board. And yeah, I mean, kudos to PSG for standing firm and holding on to this one, and also just showing the power of Yumi. Like, this champion that had been neglected in the playoffs by our entire region finally comes out, and 2 games in a row, it's the difference maker.
Yumi ran away with both of those games. Banned 13 times in playoffs, but 0 picks. This time 2 picks and two very dominating performances showcased by the Yumi in game scripts that were fairly negative.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, right? It really was about just pumping out enough damage to secure objectives, and when the fights got reset, there were a couple of times where it seemed like those fights were going to end in massive favor of one team or the other, but they just got away with blinking health bars. But the difference was, yeah, it was J-Team that are like not wanting to stick around when they're low, when they have a chance of losing. Well, if you play not to lose, sometimes you don't win either. And PSG know that very well. You have to give them credit that they do make decisions. They are on the same page. And coming into the playoffs, we were not 100% sure if they were going to be as on the same page as older iterations. We knew there was a limited language barrier going in. Well, it feels like that is all but evaporated. And here is the game as it went. And that Zeri damage by the end was ridiculous.
66k.
Woo!
Holy.
That, look, I know inflation is happening, but that was ridiculous. And Gory earns our MVP. I mean, he had the clutch charms that ended up winning the fights. I'll give him that much.
He was very impactful, even though the kills may not line up for it. And in this series, he soaked up a lot of pressure coming in from Uniboy, from Kongria. And that was really it was the core part of their game plan from the side of J Team. Gory soaked up that pressure, and that allowed Unified to flourish, allowed this Yumi to get out of lane phase without being punished. So he played an essential role in this series, even though the numbers may not reflect that.
Yeah, I think that was the critical thing. You just opened up a lot of opportunities for the rest of his team. And Gory showing that he doesn't have to be the star player in every single game. I think PSG have a lot of versatility, have many ways to get back into games and earn themselves a sweep in a very creative fashion, I think, to say the least. So they now go up to face against Deep Cross Gaming. I cannot wait to see that matchup. Both of these teams got 3-0, and I think that was unexpected for both of our matchups in the last couple of days, Frank.
Yeah, looking at the playoff bracket, you could say, well, maybe the 3-0 comes out in the first round with some of these higher seeded teams really dominating, but that wasn't the case. It was actually somewhat competitive until this week, where we had three 3-0s.
And there we have it. Well, with that one done and dusted, we're sending it off to a break. Before we go to an interview with Hanabi, the man of the top lane, you won't want to miss that. We'll be right back.
Oh my. I've been all night waiting for you to come home. I've been all night waiting for you to come home. Oh my, come on, let's do this dance tonight. I gotta have you, boy, you're playing with my heart. We look around, but we don't see nobody else. Nobody, nobody.
Give me your loving, give me your loving, give me your loving,
Oh my.
give me your loving, give me your loving, give me your loving.
I couldn't find nobody else like you. Been let down each time that I've tried to find another, but I always come back to you. We're a perfect match made in the fire. You know you can't fulfill my desires. Many try, but I only got you in my eyes. In my eyes. Oh my, come on, let's do this dance tonight. I gotta have you, boy, you're playing with my heart. We look around, but we don't see nobody else. Nobody, nobody.
Give me your loving, give me your loving, give me your loving,
Oh my.
give me your loving, give me your loving, give me your loving.
Down in game number 2, what do you think was the biggest mistake that JT made during that game? 那第一个问题想问的就是关于第二局，就是逆风大翻盘到底是怎么完成的呢？然后火龙会觉得 JT 犯下最大的失误是什么？可以跟观众解释一下细节吗？
因为第二局我上路已经就是算有点爆炸了嘛，就我跟我队友说，我们3件装下去跟对面打团，然后我们就一直防守。然后我觉得这一 team 最大的失误就是没有去一直进攻边线吧，因为西位的中塔是推不了，所以因为中塔浪费很多时间。
So he said that in game number two, over in the top lane, like personally, his lane was kind of boom. So what he communicated to his team was that he thinks that they should just wait until they were at 3 items and then try to team fight at the 3 item point. But before that, they were just willing to let objectives go. He thinks that the biggest mistake that JT made that game was in not pressuring the side lanes enough. He thinks that they could have done more in the side lanes. He also thinks that they wasted a lot of time in mid. He thinks that with the Sivir as well, they weren't able to push down the tower, so they wasted a lot of time there. So I want to ask also about that game because you also picked a Gangplank, which is a champion we don't really see on this patch anymore, versus Roxnar. So is the Gangplank a confidence pick for you? Can you maybe give us some tips on the Gangplank Nar matchup? 那句也是选了在这版本中比较少见的船长，是为什么呢？是不是火龙个人的自信角吗？然后能够分享一下，就是船长打纳尔的对线技巧。
因为船长这个英雄其实京东的369也选过嘛，就我是觉得是可以选择的英雄。然后自信的话也是有的，因为自己的就玩蛮多的英雄。然后船长打那就是前面基本上都是能推线的，然后可以用大局去支援自己的队友，就可能一件装的时候会打不那就是他的缺点。
So he said that Gangplank he thinks is pretty pickable. He thinks that for 369 and also for him personally, it's a champion that is quite viable for him. Gangplank is kind of a confidence pick for him, but then he also says that personally he does play a lot of champions. He said that if you're playing Gangplank versus Gnar, Gangplank is pretty good at clearing out the wave, and also you can use the ultimate in terms of helping out your teammates. And then one of Gnar's weaknesses that you should try to exploit as Gangplank is when you've completed your first item, that is when a Gnar is weak versus you. So my next question is also about top lane. Did you expect that J Team was going to field Rock for all 3 games today? 那有没有想到今天对方会3场都是要对上 Rock 呢？
就我觉得他们3场会上 Rock 也是合情合理的，因为他们之前因为用 Rock 上路，然后赢下了我们嘛，所以是能预料到的。
So he said that J Team fielding Rock for all 3 games is something that was within the realm of expectations for him because the last time that J Team beat PSG, they were fielding Rock in the top lane as well. And in general, like Rock has pretty good performances with the rest of the J Team squad. So my next question, Hanabi, you've been a pro for a lot of years. However, this is the first time in recent history that PSG has been knocked to the lower bracket this early. So were you nervous before today's elimination match, or did you feel a lot of pressure? 那火龙毕竟也打职业打了好几年了，但这次是 PSG 在这2年当中第一次这么早就落到败部。想问今天的生死对决之前会不会感到紧张呢？然后有没有感受到很大的压力？
这因为我自己打职业打那么多年，其实很少在季后赛就那么早输掉了，都基本上前面都是能拿下的。然后今天的生死对决前，我并不觉得很紧张，可是压力的话是有点大的，毕竟就已经连续2年进世界赛嘛，也希望今年能进。
So he said that he's had a pretty long pro career. He's played for a lot of years, but this for him personally is one of the first times that they have dropped to the lower bracket this early in playoffs. But he said that even though coming into today's elimination match, he wasn't feeling all too nervous. He did feel a bit of the pressure, but that was because PSG has always consistently made it to Worlds. So of course this year as well, they are hoping to make it to Worlds. So, my next follow up question, of course, is did you honestly think that PSG would drop to the lower bracket this early in round two? Is it possibly the language issue that is a big problem within the team? 那老实说，火龙有没有想到 PSG 会在第2轮就落到败部呢？然后也想问一下，就是语言算是队内的沟通难处吗？
就其实，在打 TFO 之前就觉得自己有机会输了，然后其实主要的问题还是在沟通，真的太乱了，就是大家都 就有些单子是听不懂的，所以很难做到这件事，会打得比较乱。
So he said that actually for PSG, even before their match versus CFO, the team had already had the thought that they might lose in the series or they might drop games. He said that the main problem on PSG right now for sure is definitely still communication. He thinks that just in terms of vocabulary, for example, there are words that the teammates are using that they don't understand. And because they don't understand these key words, it's hard to communicate and make those decisions in game. So I want to ask also about the last match versus CFO because that went to all 5 games. And if PSG do make it to the finals this time around, between CFO, BYG, and DCG, which team would you prefer to face off of in the final? 那上一场对上 CFO 是整整打满5局的鏖战，若是最后一路挺进决赛，火龙个人会比较想遇到 DCG、BYG 或是 CFO 呢？
因为其实下一场就要打到 DCG 了嘛，所以其实决赛就只会打到 BYG 或 CFO。个人的话会比较想打 CFO 吧，因为就输给他们，希望自己能一下复仇。
So he said that well because their next match they're going to play versus DCG anyway. If PSG do make it into the finals, they will have to face either BYG or CFO because it means they've already been in DCG. So he said that between BYG and CFO, he would rather face off versus CFO because they lost to them 2 days ago, and he personally would like to get the revenge win. So what kind of adjustments did the team make after the loss versus CFO 2 days ago? 那前天败给了 CFO 之后是做了什么样的调整或者复盘呢？
就在前几天输给 CFO 之后，我们就从拳脚上做了比较大的改变，然后打法的话就减少自己的失误，然后进行游戏。
So he said that they mainly made a lot of adjustments in terms of their band picks and what kind of champions that they were going to play in today's series. He said in terms of the way that each individual teammate was playing, they really just made a couple of adjustments to to kind of like their mechanics that kind of fixed those little mistakes. So next, I want to ask about Gory. We saw in the pre-match interview also that J Team's coaching team said controlling Gory is the key to any team winning versus PSG. So how do you personally feel about people saying that PSG need to rely on Gory in order to win series and win games? 那接下来想聊一下关于这赛季最大的补强 Gory，然后 JT 就是在赛前的采访，他们的教练团也有提到，就是控制好中路的 Gory，就是他们今天的战术。然后火龙对于被说 PSG 要赢的话，得靠 Gory，有什么想法呢？
就因为季赛的时候，其实确实都是靠我们中路 Gory 在 carry 我们的游戏的，但是到季后赛就是其实我们的下路状况也很好，就下路也其实能站出来的，就是今天就是 Unify carry 3场。
那火龙个人呢？个人表现呢？
我觉得我的表现就有点差强人意吧，希望能再更好一点。
So he said that during the regular season, of course, it was Gory who was doing a lot of the heavy lifting during the regular season games and carrying the PSG squad to victory. But he said that playoffs, however, he thinks that it's not just Gory who's putting in the work on the team. He feels that the bottom lane has been improving a lot and their condition has been very good in playoffs as well. He said that in the recent series, you can see that their bottom lane is able to stand out and have those standout performances. Whereas for him personally, he still thinks that he's not playing up to par and that there are things that he can improve on and he can play better. So my last question that I have to ask is, what is PSG's goal for this summer? Is it champions as always that we've seen PSG win year after year? Or is the goal this time maybe to just make it to the finals, make it to Worlds? What do you think? 那最后一个问题就是关于这赛季 PSG 的目标会是什么呢？就是依然会是夏季冠军吗？还是说只要是打进决赛，然后夺个世界赛的门票就够了？
我们每一个赛季的目标都是希望自己能拿下冠军吧，就是希望这一次的夏季也能拿下我的第7个冠军。
So he said that for him and for PSG, their goal is always to become the champions of their split. And he said, of course, the summer is no different, and they hope that they can once again be the champions of their own region. All right, thank you so much, Hanabi, for the interview. And of course, good luck in the last week of playoffs. 好的，那非常感谢火龙，接受今天的赛后采访。当然要去 PSG 在下周季后赛的最后一周加油，拜拜。
拜拜。
All right. Thank you very much for the interview, Ririchu. And yeah, for Hanabi, always good to hear from him. Feeling fairly confident and looking forward to potentially facing CFO in the finals. I mean, hey, I think that'd be a one heck of rematch. It would be the long rematch after the earlier 5-game series that knocked him down here in the first place. But Nightstar, what a resilient team, our PSG Talon. You can never count them out.
Absolutely. In a grueling 5-game series against CFO, they managed to bounce back in a strong fashion. And Jenny asked who they want to play in the finals. Well, to get to the finals, and if they win the entire thing, they would play all 3 of those teams regardless.
That's true. They'd have to go through everybody.
Yeah, to take the title, they will need to beat DCG, BYG, and CFO again to win the entire thing. So
that's one heck of a gauntlet. And I think the matchup against Deep Cross Gaming, that'll be another good test for them, because Deep Cross, they don't have the same issues that J-Team showcased in terms of, decisiveness. We saw in the playoffs they were really able to execute at a high level. The question is, will they be able to do it against a team of PSG Talon's caliber, who still got tested despite the 3-0 result? Those 2 games were very winnable for J-Team. And I think we are going to see where this team's true strength lies, because they've already exceeded some expectations in the playoffs, I think. Some of the things we thought might be an issue, Hanabi's champion pool being nerfed, Unified having a little bit of a harder time, I think that's already been at least somewhat mitigated by the way that PSG showed play today, showed in the CFO series. Honestly, this team always knows how to bounce right back. Even if the regular season looked potentially shaky. Best of ones, you can only tell so much, I suppose, from them.
Yeah, very true. And PSG, when it comes to these best of 5s as an organization, they always seem to have another gear, at the very least in the preparation. This split has been a little bit rougher because of the fact that they are incorporating 2 new players once more that do need to catch up to speed and lingo-wise. We also heard in the interview, the lingo maybe not quite there. As playoff bracket pulled up, it was a 3-3-0 weekend, so
yeah,
a little bit unusual.
And we did have a long series right in the middle of it, but all the same, it has been a little bit unexpected in that regard. But we are down to the final 4. CTBC Flying Oyster, Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, a battle of the banks will start us off on the 1st of September for the winners bracket finals. One of those teams is going to Worlds, and then we'll find out who the other one is, as we have PSG starting off a gauntlet up against Deep Cross. Whoever wins that one then goes on to face the loser of our first matchup for a second shot for them into the finals. And then, of course, our grand finals on the 4th to determine who will be our PCS Summer Split champion. We're going to have to find out, will it be PSG Talon hoisting the trophy once again, a 5th-time champion in 6 splits of the PCS, or will we have somebody different for the first time since Machi Esports in the summer of 2020? Ooh, I can't wait to find out. We got one more week of playoffs, Nightstar.
Yeah, and one of our top 2 seeds will get knocked out of World's contention. That is high stakes.
Absolutely. The playoff seeding, it was so close this time around. Only a couple of games separating the top 4, and we could see that didn't seem to make too much of a difference. It has been up in the air. It has been anybody's game, and I am so excited to see who it's going to be, but we're going to have to wait the week for that. For now, we are done with this round of the PCS Summer Playoffs. So for all of us on the broadcast, myself, Clement, Ririchu, Hysterics, and you, of course, Nightstar, thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week as the PCS Summer Split will conclude.